Captain Jan Miles of the Pride of Baltimore II spoke with us recently during a Baltimore National Heritage Area special event at the Rusty Scupper about his reflections on Sailabration 2012 and Baltimore Clipper ships.
Well, there's a lot of coordination with those kinds of events, and it was particularly interesting because we were connecting with the namesake of Fort McHenry, the U.S. Navy ship Fort McHenry, and escorting her in. So it was a matter of coordinating through only visual references because we weren't always on the radio or anything like that. And then we're a sailing ship, so the question is could we really sail, or were we going to operate in respect of the fact that, irrespective of the wind, and therefore just keep position? And then figuring out also what might be the more attractive perspective. Do we stay right alongside, or do we sort of stay displaced a little bit ahead? Do we stay on the south side, or the port side, or the starboard side, the north side? And those are all things that you as a captain of any vessel in these circumstances are running through your head. And then, of course, being a sailing ship is a question of what sails to have up. You've got a timing thing, you've got a control thing, and then also going back to the business of representation is, do we use the smaller flag or the not so smaller flag, or do we use the real McCoy? And so you know, we've got the wind going forward, and we're increasing. It was fairly breezy, and so the question is what sails? Sails were flogging, and so we didn't want that looking happening. It would do damage as well as it wouldn't look right. And so we get adjusted. Now we're properly moving along, holding place, and we're looking as good as I think we can look under the circumstances. And we got the great big flag up, and we go around the corner, and the whole other rest of the time is just keeping an eye on traffic and admiring that the quality of the day was the way it was. You've got a fair amount of breeze, you've got a beautiful sky quality, color quality, and then you get in close to Fort McHenry, and the crowds, and there's the guns going off, the salutes going off from the fort to the Navy ship, and so it was a really interesting event to watch. I've been to a lot of these events, Pride's been to a lot of these events, but it was our event, and so it was quite special. But there's also this historical factor, which is we're a coming-of-age story, and the focus tends to be, nationally speaking, about what is the banner, what is the anthem, and there's sort of a forgetfulness about why did the British come to Baltimore. And so we've been pretty focused on trying to resurrect why did the British come to Baltimore. And it was because of these vessels. It wasn't because there was a fort. It wasn't because there was a city. It was because of the ships, the shipyards that built these ships. They were peculiar ships. The British didn't like them. They didn't like what was going on with them. They wanted to do payback. And that's an element of the entire really wonderful story that is often looked over or forgotten. We're 200 years later. It's an opportunity to resurrect that contribution that is unique to the Chesapeake Bay, unique to Maryland and Virginia, and particularly to Baltimore, because the development of the shape of these hulls, the development of the vessels and the way they got used is purely Chesapeake Bay. It was never generated anywhere else. Anywhere else who was doing something similar was a copycat. That's not an insult. That's a great compliment. And these trends, these fantastic speed under sail trends, were the precursor to all kinds of thinking going on, entrepreneurial thinking in every way and form, both maritime-wise and non-maritime-wise. And it all is the genesis of the American style of doing it comes in the Chesapeake Bay. With speed, which was sort of an accidental discovery because of other problems in the Chesapeake Bay, they could actually protect themselves. So small cargoes, high value, speed. They were successful. And that combination made a lot of people rich, or a number of people rich anyway. And so that is the precursor to a research project that's been going on ever since about what is what's called the search of speed under sail. And of course, when mechanical power came in, it all changed, and it's more a sport. But back then, it became a means of doing better than you might otherwise do under circumstances that were uncommon. The common circumstances were big, efficient, cargo carriers that did not require speed. That's the beginning. Come to the North Americas, get involved with the Chesapeake Bay, solve problems, discover how you could be speedy by changing the hull shape a little bit. You didn't know you were doing that. You discovered it after the fact that you had changed it for other reasons, and then off you go.